Good afternoon. We are here for the Technical Transportation Committee meeting. I will call the meeting into order. Thank you, everyone, for your attendance today. And first item on our agenda is approval of minutes from our last meeting, January 18. I'll entertain. We do have a quorum. We just reached our quorum. Yes, good question. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes from January 18.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Abstain? Thank you. Minutes are approved. The next item on the agenda is access permits, NDOT permits in particular.
And usually we will have provided them in advance so they could be in the agenda notes, but no activity since the last month in terms of new permits in this area. Surprise, surprise. And while I have the floor for a second, Scott Chandler, who sits here sometimes as a voting member for NDOT, has taken a new position and still at NDOT, but Mike Eubank will now be the new System Asset Manager, which is what Scott had been. And I'll bring him next month to introduce him, and we need to get him officially approved to be a voting member to fill in if I'm not here. Mike Eubank, E-U-B-A-N-K.
Thank you. So we'll move on to the next item, the APC progress report. MPO update. Doug?
Good afternoon. Go ahead and go through the list here. We got a number of items that are listed out. First of all, I'd like to give you a status report regarding the development of the TIP, and it is moving forward. The draft document has been completed and was placed on the APC webpage last Thursday. The same day, it was also sent to central office for their review. So we are actually about 2 weeks ahead of schedule, which is good news. The public hearing for the TIP will be March 8th. It's a Wednesday. It'll be in conjunction with our Citizens Participation Committee, and it will be an online meeting, so it'll be available through either the county's Facebook or YouTube web pages. And then after we have our public meeting, we will start the adoption process here at our April meeting, and then plan to present it to the May Policy Board meeting for adoption. So it is moving forward. So again, thank you for all of your help in putting it together. A lot of work, a lot of information. Going on to the next item, road project discussion. Every other month, the local emergency planning committee meets, and as part of that committee meeting, staff here at Area Plan Commission presents an update to road projects that are either in the works right now or up and coming in the next month or two. And I've emailed pretty much most of you about what's going on and asked for information, and appreciate that. And the next meeting, of course, will be in early March. But this past January meeting, it was asked that if there was one location where they could get all of the information. And right now there is none. We do have information. It's great in looking at the web pages like Lafayette, the counties. NDOT has their own. West Lafayette has their own, where you can find out project information, and that's great, and we can put together a spreadsheet for them. But they were, of course, one person was curious if it was possible to combine all of that into one place so they could just quickly look. And we wanted to bring that request up, or comment, to see if it's possible to actually do something like that. So this is basically, presenting their request and then for discussion. So, as I know on our webpage, we can easily put down links to everybody else's. That's a fairly quick and easy thing to do, but what are your thoughts?
Is yours list-based or GIS-based?
Well, right now, we don't have anything road project-wise. We do have for the TIP GIS-based.
Ours is GIS-based, and I'm just wondering if everybody else's is, it shouldn't be that tough of a thing to.
Projects are list-based.
Yours is list-based. Okay.
I think West Lafayette is GIS-based as well.
You're talking about road work, right?
Yes.
Like ongoing road closures and.
Road closures, detours in that nature.
Yeah, we're GIS-based. I thought we were talking about project plan links and that kind of thing.
Oh,
That's different.
I'm sorry for that. Yeah, clarification, actual, work that is going on currently, like if there's any detours.
Closures and project, okay. Yes, we are GIS-based
Okay.
on our closures and projects, yes.
That's what I thought.
I misunderstood.
I just wonder if we could get our heads together and see if that is something that's easy to do, or are we using a different form of, like ArcGIS, and they're using something different? I don't know, but that's something we can discuss amongst ourselves, though, and our IT or GIS
The GIS people.
people.
And of course, we'd want NDOT too.
So,
We're working on a new app right now that'll be GIS based. Other than that, I think we're just using cars to get the information out right now. But we have something new coming. I'm making a note to see if there's a chance that it could be available to use outside of NDOT. So
Excellent. Jeff?
I'm not sure if this is the app you're talking about, but NDOT TrafficWise, the 511 for Indiana has construction and traffic info and what have you, and I don't know if they would allow the addition of project information, but they have construction information. And there may even be money, somebody might have money for 511 development, and I know there's other places that they also then put transit info on there too. But I don't know if that's the app you're talking about.
that's where our current information is. We're working on a new app that is just focused on detour conflicts and helping us track, because there's so much activity that we have. It's become very hard to not have conflicts, even with our maintenance teams doing chip seals. So more to come on that, but I'll do some checking to see if there's a chance that we can share and use that same format, because it looks really good. It's being piloted right now, and it'll help us manage that better internally.
Excellent, thank you. So how about I'll send out an email here in the next week or so, and then get the discussion rolling internally. That sound like a good plan?
Yes.
Excellent, thank you. Thank you. And then, of course, going on to the next item, as you see, it's time this year to bring the status of our federal funding obligation. Since we have additional federal funds or different categories, it's a little different. On top, you see what has been obligated according to NDOT. And then on the bottom are the funds that we track specifically. And we're on track for obligating all. The remaining funds are all associated with the Yeager Road project. So with fingers and toes crossed, in March, we hopefully will have those obligated then. So otherwise, everything else has been obligated, so good news. The next item is rather curious thing, is that, of course, following up on the decennial census, they publish population for the urban area, and for the 2020 census, the urban area population was 175,000. which is only, or surprisingly, 10,000 more than the 2010 census. Kind of a head scratcher. I think a lot of other people think it should have been a lot more. Well, we finally were able to find what exactly was the urban area boundary, and believe it or not, we were able to find it through FTA on their website. So rather interesting that they published the information before the census did. We have a map up here that shows three different things. The dark pink is basically areas that are coterminous between the 2020 and the 2010 census. The light pink is the new areas in the 2020 census. And what you see in green, I'll specifically point out the area around Battleground, was in the 2010, but not in the 2020. So this is a head stumper. We're not sure why the Battleground town and area was excluded, but that is probably one of several reasons why our urban area population actually decreased. So something we probably should be looking at more closely and figuring out what happened. But anyway, we thought we would bring this to you and show you what the census urbanized or urban area boundary is. So just more or less an FYI. Would like to go on the 18-month waiting list?
Yes, please.
Sure. Hey, got some information regarding bid letting results from January. First one, of course, is Yeager Road, and if you still have not heard, the bids did come in significantly more than what the engineer's estimate was. The low bid was $9.4 million, and right now it has been moved to the March 2023 bid letting. Moving down to the US 231 projects, that was awarded to Reith Riley Construction for $15.8 million. The completion date or estimated completion date for the contract is October 31st of 2025. I want to highlight that because it's like we're still in 2023, but 2025. It's like, wow. Going on, the next one, I-65 repair, replace joints. That was awarded, and contract completion is April this year. And then the bottom one, district traffic signal modernization. The estimates from the engineer, the bids came in over that, so it was not awarded. We do have 3 projects on the bid letting for this month, and I have not looked at those yet, but 2 are on 43 and 1 on State Road 225, and the one on 225 is not the Wabash River Bridge project. And then we have 3 more in April, and then 2 in May, and then that's it for the state fiscal year. But if you look down on the list, we had basically 1 project slipped, and that was on State Road 28. That slipped from a April to a May bid letting. That's project number 12. And then on the second page, see project number 22 and 23. We have Morehouse Road Phase 1, and then bridge project 527 on Old 231. So projects are moving forward. We just had the 1 slip, and hopefully in March we will receive favorable bids for the Yeager Road project. Questions or comments?
All right. There do not appear to be any. So thank you, Doug. We'll move forward with the next item, quarterly reports by Tim.
Okay, so I don't see anyone from West Lafayette here, so when we get to them, I guess we'll just have to kind of pass over them. But I will read what comments we had, but we can't get any dynamic feedback from them, so I guess that is what it is. So for Tippecanoe County, starting with the Lindbergh Road project, so the final construction records were submitted. Basically, last I'd heard from Stu that we're just waiting on an INDOT invoice to come through to be able to close out the purchase orders. So that project's very close to being done. Anything to add on that one, Stu?
$5,000. Oh, sorry. We got that bill. It was a little over $5,000, so we were able to pay it.
Good, always glad to hear that. So are we expecting a quarterly report next quarter to close it out, or?
I'm assuming that when that check clears next week, that they'll close out the project.
Great, thank you. So then the next project is the North 9th Street Road Bridge. So Stu has some notes here about the Stage 1 local certifications at 70%, and a minor projects programmatic agreement now applies. So further archaeological investigations will not be required. So because of that, that I believe should allow us to hit the anticipated milestone for the environmental report, which is later this year in October. Is that correct, Stu?
You lost me here, which one are you talking about?
North 9th Street Road Bridge.
Oh, yes, you are talking. Yes, that's right. We're moving ahead on schedule. Shouldn't have a problem. Sorry.
No worries. Okay, good. Glad to hear that. So our next project is River Road at 500 North. So this road is open to traffic again. So however, the punch list is on hold until spring. So some of the very, very last final items will be done while traffic is still using the road.
Right.
So that project, again, getting pretty close to being closed out, so we won't see too many more quarterly reports for that one. Any other updates, Stu?
No, that's it, just a little bit of ditch repairs and this and that, and it'll be done.
Okay. Very good. So our next project is Morehouse Road, Phase 1 specifically. So we did note that there were some changes in costs, so Stu emailed us regarding that. So he did mention that some of the right-of-way information that you see for this really applies to Phase 2 of the project, which is going to be our next project on the list. So that kind of explains why we're behind on the right-of-way milestone, which, according to this report, would have been finished November of last year. But it really more so applies to the second phase of Morehouse. So that's that. We do anticipate that this project will still be able to let in November. Is that correct, Stu?
Yes.
All right, so continuing on with Morehouse Road, Phase 2. So we did note, again, some small changes in the costs, and we will continue to monitor this as things get finalized and everything gets sorted out. So because we had to split this project into phases, as Stu can tell you, it's been a little bit of a challenge to track it. It had originally come through as one project, and then it's been split into two. So it's still something we're kind of keeping an eye on between this and the previous project that we just discussed. Any additional comments, Stu?
No, I think we're zeroing in. It's just, yeah, getting those items. We're really close to a stage 3 on Phase 1, which will help settle it out. And then it'll go over budget, like every other project.
Yes, unfortunately, that does seem to be the trend. So then our next project is the Yeager Road reconstruction. So as Doug mentioned previously, this project did not let, unfortunately. So we are sliding it back, hopefully to get some more favorable bids. And I know the county has also been looking at maybe if there are some potential cost-cutting measures they can do to lower the project cost as well. So we are working through our various channels to get this project, sold and out to letting. Do you have any additional updates on this, Stu?
Yes, we made, to get on that March list, turned that around in about a week. We made the changes and got it in, and it's advertised, it's on the list. And we did make some design changes to save some money, not as much money as we need to save, but some of it. And we've been in contact with Kathy. Even though this is a group 2, we've floated the idea of if they can get us some more money to keep us at 80/20, be another $1 million to get us there. She's given us to see what happens in March. Otherwise, we'll have to come up with 20% plus the $1 million.
All right, so then our next project is the McCutcheon Pedestrian Safety Project. So this project did let, so we are awaiting pre-construction. So we were just wondering what the anticipated start date for construction is for this project. Do you have that, Stu?
Yeah, the contract has a delayed start to June because of the school season. They are starting, we're meeting tomorrow, somebody nod, with the contract. We got permission to do an early start just for clearing because of the April bat thing. It was one of those deals. So as soon as the trees are cleared, then work will stop again until June.
All right, got it, thank you. So our next project is the start of the bridge projects, of which we have several. So bridge number 64. So we have resumed environmental permitting and right-of-way tasks since there was some NDOT hydraulics approval that had kind of been slowing that down. That hurdle has been cleared, so this project has started again. And the county has begun early coordination with IDNR to work to use their in lieu fee program for tree mitigation. So with some of that explanation from Stu, I don't think we had any additional questions about this project, but if you have any more information you'd like to provide, Stu?
Well, everything, we haven't seen the plans yet, but apparently we're updated to the structure revisions, which was on the bigger bridge, on the 65 bridge, which was holding the pair back. Everything, they've satisfied NDOT. We haven't seen it yet.
So that brings us to our next project that Stu just referenced, bridge number 65. So some very similar type of comments since they're projects that are kind of bundled together. So we, again, didn't have too much on that. So anything you wanted to add for 65?
They're the pair. That's how they're running.
Okay. So then our next bridge project, bridge number 527. So for this one, we did have some initial questions about some milestone dates. However, we just heard very recently from Stu via email after we had put this report out in the packet that there are some updates. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the floor over to Stu so he can kind of let you guys know the latest news of what's happening with this project.
Their environmental delays really plagued this thing. There was a late start, geotechnical, blah, blah. So there was some discussion about doing right-of-way at risk. Everything got a little hairy. We met with NDOT, Dr. Kathy Eaton-McCallop last week. She offered to let us jump fiscal years, had a meeting with the designer, and said, yes, that's the smart thing to do. So we're moving it back to November of next year for the letting. We're going to right-of-way clear by this fall, and then we'll do tree clearing over the winter, and that will give, it actually works out better because it gives the utilities a full summer for relocation ahead of the letting, which should, everybody tells us, if you're clear and utilities are out, it'll help our letting prices. So that's where we are.
All right. Yep, thank you for the update, and we will, of course, continue to work with you on that. You know, we understand that these things happen, and so we'll work on moving the funding around as needed to make sure that everything gets done.
I did send in the formal request just about an hour before this to move the state money, and I guess you'll have to adjust the tip thing. Thank you.
Okay, so continuing the bridge projects, bridge number 80. So in order to get a FEMAS in place, we are awaiting a STIP amendment, which we at APC did send to NDOT in November. However, we have not heard anything about the processing of that amendment still, as far as I know. Doug, have I missed anything on that?
No, I mean, it's a head scratcher. I mean, last I emailed the gentleman over the STIP, it's still not been finalized, so.
I don't understand the full process, but when I got a hold of Susie last week just to update, it sounded like, is there a step, like the STIP is approved, but the federal highway has to do something, a check off, and that's what they don't have yet?
Well, the STIP amendments have to be approved by federal highway.
Right, and that's the step
Yes.
that we're missing.
And at this point, the last I spoke with the gentleman, which has been probably 3 weeks ago or so, it has not been yet submitted to FHWA.
Yeah.
So, but I will make a note to follow up.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Be
Doug.
gentle, I've been bugging Susie a lot about that.
Now, this is the central office, folks.
Oh, you
I love you about that.
You bother a whole different group of people than I bother. Okay.
Okay, so then our next project, Bridge 83, is kind of in the same boat, because again, it's a pair of bridge projects. So exact same thing. So like Doug said, he'll be following up with central office on these projects. So hopefully we can figure out what we need to do to move these forward. You know, we don't want these sitting in limbo for a while, so we'll see what we can do from our end. Anything else on that one, Stu?
Nope. Haven't done anything because we don't have a FEMA.
Okay, so then the last project for the county is the county bridge inspection program. So we did not have any comments on this. You know, this is always an ongoing thing that happens, you know, year after year. So nothing from our end that we wanted to comment about. Did you have anything you wanted to add, Stu?
No, phase one inspection is complete in interims, and we're moving ahead. There'll be the next one. There's one thing that's happened that probably make you guys happy, I think, is that the next round, the next contract, they're gonna give up on this FEMAS for every phase. We'll go back to the 4-year contract with a single FEMAS, because they've decided it's as annoying to them as it is to us.
All right, thank you for that update, Stu. So then we'll go ahead and move on to Lafayette's projects. So the first one is the Park East Boulevard project. So the purchase orders have all been closed out for this, so this is the last time we will be seeing this report.
Not so fast.
Oh, something happened?
I was trying to get it closed out.
Okay.
When I talked to NDOT, they said that one purchase order is still open and the FCR has not been approved yet. So there is the potential that maybe the next quarter we could put these same notes on there and they could be correct, but I'm working on that.
Okay. All right, well, thank you for that update. Things happen, I guess. Okay, so the other project for Lafayette, the South 9th Street project. So they're continuing work on the environmental document. Public outreach will be starting this spring or summer. And then we also noted that there was a small change in costs. So the number had gone back to what it was in the June of 2022 report. So it had gone up a little bit for September, and it has been
Yeah, the
reversed.
September numbers are correct. I don't know what happened to take it back down to December 2022, but I need to check that on my end. There was an amendment, and yeah.
Okay, good note, thank you for that information. So that finishes out Lafayette's project. So moving on to West Lafayette. So they've given us several comments. Most of these comments are actually for the NDOT project managers to tweak some things, but since they were received in their reports, we documented them here. So we didn't have any comments on this project. We know it's progressing. So then the next project is the westbound 52 special ramp intersection of Soldiers Home Road, Phase 1. So our note on that was just that the report that we got still listed the percent complete at 0 for most of the items in the project schedule. So we would like to hopefully see some of those numbers start to roll in. This is still a pretty new report, so sometimes it takes some time for everyone to get on board with all that. And then we did have a question about if reports would be filed for Phase 2 of this project in the future. Since West Lafayette is not here to answer that at this time, we will roll over that question to the next quarter's quarterly reports. And then the last, sure. Yeah, go
By
ahead.
Phase 2, are we talking about the county section of Soldiers Home?
No, there should potentially be another phase that the city would like to do.
That would be the roundabout, or, okay,
Phase 2 is the north part of the project, county part.
Oh,
that's ours.
okay.
And that's not in there because it hasn't even really started yet.
Right.
And then this westbound Special 52 ramp, that's the roundabout? Okay. Because that's going to go with, does that roundabout then go with the Phase 1 at the same time, or are they two separate pieces?
The roundabout at this time, my understanding is that's going to go with the first construction.
With Phase 1 all at one
Phase
time?
1. And
But,
then
well, have phases, but,
The
yeah.
Phase 2 would be following in 2029, which is what you're most interested in. And the third phase, which is that southern roundabout, looks like it might now be just funded with local funds. So that may get moved construction-wise. I don't know when that, if they actually added the engineering to the current contract for that, but at this point, last I heard, it was going to be funded with just local funds, at least construction.
Okay. So at some point, our Phase 2 will have to take over the ERC and the reports, quarterlies for that?
I think it's still going to be under West Lafayette because it's a solar system.
They can have it. Okay, so they'll do the quarterlies for all of it?
Yes, my understanding, yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, so then the last project for West Lafayette is the Sagamore Parkway Trail. We didn't have any comments on this. It's under construction. So we'll continue to monitor that one and see what comes up as that project continues to develop. So that rounds out the list that we had. So with that, we will go ahead and move on to the next item on the agenda.
All right, thank you. The next item is other business. Does anyone have other business to bring before the committee? Okay, appearing that there's none. Now is the time for citizen comments. Anyone in the room? Okay. Then the next item is adjournment. So I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And as I adjourn, I don't say this every time, but just for those who are watching the stream on Facebook and YouTube, that will continue. However, if anyone's desiring to make public comment, you must attend in person to do that. So with that, I declare the meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.